So, hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. This time, what I'm going to talk about is a sort of or is a kind of important story. Or this. So anyway, so this episode or not this topic, but this topic. This episode is a important stuff for me. And for I mean, if this podcast or so I'm sorry for my clumsy manner of speaking English language, and maybe I don't feel nervous, but actually, so maybe I'm a little bit, I'm a little nervous actually, or I'm nervous a little. And so this is a kind of a this is a kind of a well this is a sort of this was a sort of huge decision for me. This was a sort of yes important decision for me. And anyway, so if you have read the title and the conclusion of this episode, maybe you have already know what I'm going to talk about. Anyway, so I'm not thinking of stopping creating episodes of podcast for so far. But actually, so far what I'm thinking is that what I'm thinking is just what I'm thinking is just reducing the frequencies, reducing the frequency of uploading content into my podcast, which is what I'm currently thinking, or which is what I'm essentially thinking. And that is anyway. So I should tell you the title and the conclusion of this episode. And the title is about my podcast in the future, and the conclusion is the frequency of uploading content of mine is going to be reduced. This is my plan. And so I wrote that conclusion in this manner, and because so using the English language, so it's fine to say that so I'm going to reduce the frequency of uploading content of mine, which is considering the decent manner of using English language, the subjective I has to be used. But actually, so my mother tongue that doesn't doesn't use subjective so much. So actually, so if you are in workplaces in my country, so many people, some people or some of your bosses may say that so you should use the subjective. So who did what, or who has who have done what can be important. So some people may say that so who have done what, or who did what, and the results are important. Which may what those bosses may say, and which is which is just a possibility, or which is just a speculation, or which is just a guesswork of mine. And but actually, so but actually, many Japanese people, by the way, so I live in Japan, and I use Japanese language as my own mother tongue. And Japanese people omit using so subjectives. So which is why so I wrote, and so what is the content, not the content, but the sentence written in the section of conclusion has subjective, has a subjective. But actually, so I avoided using the specific person, and which means so in this case it's me who is going to, or it's I who is going to reduce the frequency of uploading my own contents into my own podcast. And but actually, so I use that word, which means the frequency of uploading episodes into my podcast. It's going to be reduced in the future, which is my plan. Or I have a plan of reducing the I have a plan of reducing the frequency of uploading content into my podcast, which is fine to say that so so my mouth began to be lubricated. So I couldn't speak well in when I just when I just started, or when I had just started recording this contents, but recording this episode, I mean. So, but actually, so anyway, this time I'm not thinking of so I'm not thinking of incorporating or creating many redundant stories or many digressions. And so this episode is not for rambling. And anyway, so as I have told you, so anyway, I maybe you have already understood my own plan in the future. And one of the reasons is that I'm going to tell you the reasons. Of course, I have some reasons, which is why so I decided to reduce the frequency of uploading my own contents. And this is about the frequency of uploading the episodes of podcast. But actually, so I'm thinking of reducing or slowing down creating content online, which is my own plan actually. And one reason, the first reason is my own health, and which is so recently I began to so how should I say I began to get tired easily. I don't know, So I'm sorry for my speaking monosyllabically. So that is so I'm sorry for my monosyllabic manner of speaking English language. So I began to frequently get tired. And moreover, so this is not a this is a extreme. This is not an extreme condition, but actually, so this is a fact. This is a fact. This is a fact. But so recently, I feel I frequently feel sleepy. I feel frequently sleepy, or I frequently feel sleepy, or essentially I frequently get sleepy, which is my own bodily condition, or which is my corporal condition. So which is why, and that is, I think that stems. I mean, that symptom stems from my own aging body, my own aging body. So as I have told you, I'm in my thirties, and you may have already understood, but with this explanation of mine that so I can be, for example, I can be in the middle of thirties, or I can be in late thirties. Not I mean in my own early thirties, or I mean, some of you may have already understood that, I mean, in the middle of my own thirties. I don't know whether this manner of explanation is correct as English language, but actually, so if you are, for example, if you are 31 years old, for example, so I don't think you get I don't think you are feeling that you have got older, or you have aged. I don't think you have such a you have sensed such a such a condition of, or such a situation of becoming old, or getting old. I'm sorry for my clumsy manner of English language, and if you are 31 years old, or 32 years old, I think anyway, roughly saying, your health conditions, or your health situations are fine, and you have no you have no trouble in using your own bodies. But actually, so as people get older, or as people age, so they begin to incur many healthy problems, or many problems stemming from bodily conditions, or bodily situations. For example, so this is an extreme condition, but many old people catch cancers, or catch cancers, or catch severe illnesses, or severe diseases. And So, but actually, but those older people are in their, for example, 60s or 70s or 80s. And so, compared with those really old people, I'm young. But actually, so compared with teenagers or people in their 20s, so I'm older than those so-called young people. So I'm a middle-aged person, I think. I'm a middle-aged person. It's fine to categorize me into that group of middle-aged people. And so essentially my body maybe this is my, of course this is my speculation, but I don't tell you the exact condition. And anyway, so I began to I began to get tired or get exhausted more frequently than before. And essentially I began to more frequently feel tired or feel exhausted than 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 have felt before 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 becoming this age. And I don't tell you my own exact age, but actually, so this is one of the reasons why I decided to reduce the frequency of uploading my own contents, including the episodes of my own podcast into my own podcast. And another reason is that so I don't like to be identified, but I'm going to so becoming or avoiding getting identified is not it's not a reason. If I feel if I'm afraid of becoming identified, it's fine not to create contents in this way, or by using in this way of using my own podcast. So, but actually, so there's a there's a problem, or there's a there's a there's a situation, or there's a triggering event, and which is why so I didn't do I didn't do many homeworks, not many homeworks. I'm not a student. I didn't do many works. I have done many houseworks, but actually I didn't do works I didn't do many works in my workplace. So I don't tell you what happened to I don't tell you what happened to me, because I don't like to be, or I'd like to avoid becoming identified, or I'd like to avoid getting identified. But actually, there's a triggering event after which my works was constantly the amount of my works was considerably reduced. So which is why so I wasn't busy in a former time, but actually so maybe not in maybe from last year or from 2 years ago, I began to be gradually I began to be gradually be busier. Began to be, yes, gradually busier. So so I'm worried about whether what I'm speaking is correct in terms of English, in terms of using English language. That is because so explaining explaining this type of condition is really difficult. Or this type of, yeah, explaining this type of state is really difficult. Even by using another by using foreign language than foreign language to me, foreign language than I'm not using my own mother tongue, but actually, so I'm using foreign language. I'm using a foreign language. So which is and this is one of the reasons why I find explaining things difficult. And so anyway, so more than 2 years before, I wasn't busy in my workplace, and but I had stuff to do in my workplace, but actually I wasn't busy, and maybe in these for these two for the last 2 years for the last years or since the beginning of the last year or since the beginning of the of 2 years before. No, that's not the correct expression. So from or for the last 2 years for the recent 2 years I had been well I began to be I began to get more marks than before, or than 2 years, than longer than 2 years before, which is my own situation. So, which means for these 2 years, I have been maybe two years or less, maybe So, actually measuring the actually measuring well, actually calculating the duration when I have been busy. So that duration can be less than 2 years. That can be shorter than 2 years. But actually, so for the last 2 years, I had been busy. I had been I had I had got gradually busier, which is my own situation. And now for these months or for and from the last year to this to from the last year from a former time in the last year and until now I'm really well, I have been busy. So which is another reason why I decided to reduce the frequency of my contents. And and still another reason is that to start with, this country is falling down, and since concerning the value of the local currency of this country, so so I found I thought well I found my situation, or I found my state, including this social state or social situation, more difficult or more severe or more dangerous than I had expected before. So which is why, so anyway, so spending time for creating episodes of podcast is not so smart. So I found that I found, how should I say it? So I found foolish spending time for creating episodes of podcast. And that is because so I'm in a severe situation, or I'm in more difficult or more dangerous situation in terms of the social situation of this country. One of the remarkable features is that the value of the local currency of this country is falling down, or it's plunging, not a steadfast phase, not a steadfast course, but actually anyway, the value of the local currency of this country is plunging. And the population of this country is steadfastly falling, and which is why, so it's smart to get out of this country. So so naturally thinking, or so considering the situation of this country, and it's a smarter way to run away from this country than staying in this country when it comes to, and I mean if you are afraid of if you are afraid of foundering with this country, this country, I think this country is our foundering ship. And so which is why, so I thought that I thought it would be smarter not to spend time for creating contents, but I should spend. I realized that it would be a smarter way to spend time for doing something in constantly in this situation than spending time for creating contents. So which is another reason. And so I'm going to finish recording this episode, and the first reason is that, so I'm going to reduce I'm going to reduce the frequency of uploading the content into my own podcast. And reason number one, which is my own bodily health. So I essentially I'm feeling tired frequently and easily. And another reason, and the second reason is that so I thought yes, my work became busier, and my work got busier, and the reason number three. So the social situation, concerning the social situation, creating content is not a smart way, or it's not a smarter way. And which are and considering those three reasons, so I'm going to reduce the frequency of uploading content into my own podcast or including creating content online.